Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, I'm bringing you what I promised. We were able to get a conversation in, as we will be, with Godluck, an R5 for UHA here in Kingdom 339, to answer some questions for us on what happened in 339 with UHA disbanding. How did everything build up? What culminated in everything? Where was the tipping point? What's the plans for the kingdoms now? Any indication on maybe where some people are going? And yeah, I thought this would just be a nice, good conversation to be able to have, because with this kingdom, like we talked about before, right, 339 had even placed in our top 25 kingdoms in the game once upon a time, right, and still right near a top 40 kingdom currently. With all that being said, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up. And Godluck, welcome.
Hey, Ben. What's up?
Oh, not that much, Buttercup. Just, trying to be awesome like a possum on a daily basis. Okay, I want to get into this. There's a lot I'm going to ask, and I'm going to get personal. It might get weird, but in a good way. So start me off with, if you can. So obviously by now, right, people are aware that 339 and UHA will soon be, and or at some point, disbanding and people kind of going their separate directions. And like I segued into just a moment ago, UHA and 339 have been a top kingdom in the game, have been a top alliance in the game, at least among some of the top or higher ranks. Can you, I guess, maybe first start off and walk me through, when did you start noticing, whether it was a season ago, 2, 3 seasons ago, however many, when did you start noticing that some things were changing and we could maybe get to a point where it's like, okay, maybe now we need to be a little bit more attentive. We need to be a little more aware of what's happening. And maybe there's a little bit of worry here, but like, what really started anything out?
If you're referring to the disbanding part and how, I mean, we felt it quite a while ago, to be honest with you. It was, I believe it was 2 seasons ago. And most of it came based on the fact that some people started tweeting, some people dedicated less time to the game, and it wasn't actually the members. The members, we always kept it on top, and we removed all the ones that weren't participating. So the kingdom was as clean as possible. The reason why we've been the ones with the highest merits per head going in this KVK in SOS 5. But it's been the leadership and the war leads. Those are positions that we couldn't replace. We couldn't find replacements for them. And it's also been me as well. I've moved from a city to another. I'm back in my hometown now. And during this season, I believe in about 3 or 4 days, I'm gonna move back to UK. So it's gonna be a new country, new lifestyle for me. I'm not gonna be able to put in as many hours as I did until now. So we've tried to find new R5s. We did some tests with other people taking the R5 position, but yeah, it didn't work out as we hoped it would. So we came to the conclusion that it's not worth to keep it going anymore.
Okay. And so this is interesting because, so you're saying that, okay, so is again from a period of time when players, and you're saying mainly it just came down to activity. It wasn't like people didn't want to do anything or didn't want to participate. It was merely just kind of an inability to engage as much as they could have, maybe because of lifestyle changes, or is it maybe a mix of some of that's kind of uncontrollable because it's things in real life, and is it also some of, okay, I just don't want to be as active as I was before because of maybe like changes that people were seeing, or I guess where did that kind of lie on maybe any reasonings?
Uh, to be honest, I believe it's the leadership. It's definitely the leadership. Our system was probably different than most of the others. We were running a system with about 30 R4s.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we had groups. We had groups of admins who were doing the daily stuffs. We had groups for behemoth masters, the ones that were controlling the behemoths, doing the raids and all that. We had groups pretty much for everything.
Mm.
Everything was like grouped up for people to take care of stuff, and then we didn't want to give too much to anyone so they can still enjoy the game and not put in as much work as one person should be doing if they are doing multiple tasks. But the problem came on the fact that we were losing war leads and we kept losing them season by season and we were unable to replace them. In fact, that was the main problem.
Okay.
The problem is not on a members level. The members are actually great, and I believe most of them will find a good place to go. But the problem was actually on the leadership. The leadership was a huge issue on the war lead part, just the war lead, nothing else.
Okay. Okay. So, for example, so you're saying when you started noticing it, it was mainly the war leads, basically your on-field captains, people that your on-field generals, if you will. These are the people that were mainly going to be either giving direction or setting up rallies, garrisons. Those individuals specifically, that's what we're talking about.
Not exactly. It's more of the war leads that were on the planning part. We
Okay.
lost our
Okay.
builder. We lost our one of the guys that was doing the planning with me, which was Hani. We lost him like 3 seasons ago, maybe four. It was before the season when we stole the dragon from MFD guys.
Yeah.
So he wasn't playing. He was playing on a farm account back then. He wasn't really playing. He was just in for chatting. So in the first season, I was able to carry on and yeah, do all the planning on my own and stuff like this. But after that, when I had to move at the start of June, it came to the point where I didn't had enough time to be able to do all the tasks that I was supposed to do. And yeah, things started to go down fast from there.
Okay. So so we have a good timeline. So you're saying some of the first parts that you started noticing was on kind of the war leading area, but more so on, you said, the building, the war planning, if you will, and then you attempted to fill some of those vacancies. And did it just come down to the fact that, like, you did try some people out, or no, there just really wasn't anyone that you felt was kind of at a minimum eligibility point of
Ah, to be honest, we had applications open inside the alliance for war lead position. We
Mm,
were willing to give people the war lead position, but we didn't have anyone willing to do it.
okay.
And
So
yeah,
it
that
wasn't for
was
lack of trying. It was just from lack of applications.
exactly.
Okay.
And yeah, one option for us was to merge, but it didn't happen last season because we didn't found a good option, a good match for us. We tried this season, but this season the people already started looking for a place for on their own. So I didn't want to push and I didn't want to tell anyone that it will be good or it will be bad or whatever. I wanted to let them make their own decision.
Mhm.
It's not a point where we could have insisted anymore. I mean, I didn't want to insist anymore. I wanted
Oh,
to let them make their own decision. If they didn't wanted it, then let's be it. So be it. We go our own ways.
okay. Okay, understood. Now this is interesting because, oftentimes, and interesting in the sense of that, I've been in many situations myself where, you start off typically, when you start a kingdom off or things are going really well, in most cases early on in a kingdom's life, season 1, season 2, you're usually getting a higher amount of engagement and participation and people who are willing to do a little bit more, willing to sign up and help out and volunteer here and there. And obviously, as time goes on, season to season, that's where you really start seeing kind of more of the drop off. But usually, if everything is going well, there can be some higher percentage chances here and there to fill any voids or people that are or not doing things. Sometimes one of the things that I have found is kind of, I guess this is maybe a bit similar if you guys kind of are running things as I would, which is kind of like departments for these areas. And sometimes you can just kind of scoot someone up into that position that's already within the department. So if you have a couple people that are in kind of your war department and they're doing, kind of different subtasks, or maybe there's a couple people there that are doing multiple of the same tasks, and whoever is like the lead person in that department, right? If it's more than one, right? And they end up having to basically stop playing or lower their activity, you can go to one of the other members and ask them and say, hey, there's this vacancy here, if you're interested in stepping up. But based on what you're saying, it's like, listen, just nobody was interested in doing it. Now, that can happen, even though I think all of us would probably prefer and like for it not to happen, and or just like for people to be able to step up and put themselves in those positions. Now, so you're saying you guys looked around the kingdom, nobody was interested. Was there any thought, or was there an attempt to try and recruit war leads from outside the kingdom and bring them in?
We have how can I say this? So I have a style, which is probably everybody has his own way to manage their kingdom. And the way we did it, it's been me and Hani mostly, because we've been the R5s that's been swapping since this alliance has been created.
Mm-hmm.
So we had our style, and the way we were controlling it, it was more like micromanaging it. We were making sure that everything is going as we were seeing it to happen. We were helping in that direction, but yeah, when it came to recruit people, to find people that are giving directions on the field, that's one thing, and that's something that we could have done as well. I mean, we found people to say, follow the heart, go to Mark 1, go to Mark 2, like standard war leading, whatever, Discord voice and all that. But the problem was the planning part. On the planning was the biggest issue. Losing Derkor, which was our builder, this season was very harsh on us, because he's been our builder since the moment we created this alliance. We never had the need to change him. He couldn't play anymore. He got a new job, so yeah, he's less active now. And then losing Hani, and I was the only one left on the planning part. And yeah, that was the most painful part of it all, because when I had to stop as well, there was simply no planning, and that was a big issue.
Okay. Wow.
That was the biggest issue. That's why we wanted to merge. We tried to bring a kingdom in our server last season. It didn't work out. I'm not gonna give names. And then this season I tried to do something with Shish. It also didn't work out, but this time it was because of us, because yeah, we didn't have the people willing to follow this plan.
Okay,
and with that being said, we got in the position where we had to make the announcement that we're going to disband. It's no point to keep the people in, because I'm telling you, the members we had in UHA, they were actually great. All of them are fighters, and yeah, we don't have dead weight. We have a very good system to track the data. But yeah, it was a leadership problem. It was never the members.
Okay. And just to be clear, all of the other departments or other parts of the alliance, whether that is doing event planning, if it's doing data, if it's doing member relations, if it's diplomacy, if it's migration, recruitment, anything else, just to be clear, you're saying all those other areas were good. Like everything was great there. There was really no problems. It was mainly just the building and then the war planning, which is building. I imagine you're referring more specifically to KVK building and territory management, and then war planning and that you would be doing there. So those areas, but all the other areas you're saying were fine.
Yeah, I mean, all the other areas were working just fine. I mean, we had 4 people on each category, so it was just without any issues. The only problem was actually the main important part of leadership. It's war leading, because if you don't do well in wars, you're not gonna win anything, and then yeah.
Okay, understood.
Alliances and morale and the vibe within the alliance is not gonna be the nicest one.
True. No, I can definitely understand that much. So okay, so getting back to this, to the building and the war planning. So when I asked earlier about, well, hey, what did the recruitment team go out and try and maybe find someone who could do the war leading or the building, and even just kind of, even if you're just bringing in, some individual players that might be able to fill those voids? Were you saying that that effort or that path wasn't attempted, or it was attempted, but there was just no one that you guys could find that were interested in coming into the kingdom to fill those roles?
I can say it was attempted, but not the way you're explaining it. Basically, it's kind of hard to go and recruit someone knowing nothing about him or maybe very little information about him and trust him, allowing him to make the plans and all that. You have to see, you have to know the person that you're recruiting. At least if you're doing it for the leadership, that's from my perspective.
Mm.
And then we had some recruits. We had the Koreans from 255, I believe, from SV that came to our server.
Mm.
The problem was they were not speaking English. They found it hard to integrate within the alliance. They had a separate group chat, and yeah, I mean, they've been discussing in between them mostly, but it's been very hard to get them to follow. We wanted to get some of them in the leadership, but in fact they rejected, so they didn't want to do it. They wanted to chill because they've been leadership in the other server. So they wanted just to fight on the field, and that was it. Which they did. They are great fighters, but still. Not
Yeah.
enough because the problems were somewhere else.
No, understood. Yeah, I know that can be difficult, and it's one of the reasons, I very much feel pretty consistent on, when people are doing recruitment, unless you are going to make a solid effort to, like, for example, if you're trying to build a kingdom out, and like in Rock, I don't know if they still do it this way, but when I was playing, you would look and try to build like the truly great kingdoms, that, especially if you're looking to try and get, at least in this portion of it, if you're trying to kind of get, ideally 24/7 coverage, right? So you can have a fighting team or alliance active at all times throughout the day. You might look to find, a North American team, and then maybe you'll look to find kind of a European team, and then you'll try to find like an Asian team as an example. And, so that way you can kind of cover each of your 8-hour blocks if that's how you're doing it. And so, kind of looking or aiming to build an international kingdom, you also have to understand that there's a chance that you might end up having a couple, at least maybe 2 or 3 different languages, I imagine, uh, at most, kind of where it's like a hard native language adjustment that you'd have to make. And so I very much believe that if you're not going to put the effort in to try and accomplish something like that, it can be a lot easier to try and just find people that just all speak, if not mostly, speak the same
Yeah,
language. And that can alleviate a lot of challenges as well, kind of like what you're describing there with the one group.
yeah. To be honest with you, one of the things that I consider that we did and was a mistake was actually trying to do exactly what you said before, 24/7 coverage. Like when we got a group of Koreans, one thing that happened was that we lost our peak. Basically, our peak was now like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours long. And after that, the Koreans were going to sleep. The Americans were waking up, and our peak was never as high as it used to be in the past. In the
Mm.
past, we had even 164 online out of 180. So the activity was still great, but we never had the same punch as we did in the past. We lost it because our peak became much smaller than it was before. In the past, we were having our peak starting at like 16 UTC, and it was going until close to reset time. So it was like 8 hours peak time, like 100 plus without any problems.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is I think sometimes leadership, and or just management can just take it for I don't know, maybe I want to say take it for granted, but they can maybe underestimate, that's probably a better word, underestimate the amount of work and effort that it really takes to manage a truly international kingdom, because you almost kind of have to create, you have to kind of put in like a second and third level of work in order to accommodate the groups that speak an entirely different language. And it's extra time you have to put in, it's extra effort you have to put in. And it's just one of those things where, you kind of have to know what you're walking into, and you also have to have the time available to do it, and or the team available, right, where maybe you can delegate some of those tasks. But let me circle back here for a sec in regards to, you guys finally getting to a point where you feel okay, it's time now. So walk me through that. When did you finally come to a decision? And was that something that you discussed with the officers? Was there a management meeting? At what point did you decide, and how did you get there, that, listen, we've tried everything, there's nothing else that we can do. Our only option here that we feel is to disband. So walk me, how did it get there, and what were those conversations like before you ultimately arrived at that decision?
It was basically, this season was a trial season. It wasn't. We wanted to try if we can make it work in a different way than we did it in the past. This season I wasn't the only R5. I was still there, but I had very limited time this season. And we had actually 2 more R5s, 2 people that were on top of it, but it ended up didn't working. So because it was not working, we got to the conclusion that it's time to disband. And we had a huge meeting before this season, at the end of last season in fact, where we have discussed and asked for whoever is willing to take an R5 position out of the R4 team. There weren't many willing to, and eventually it was Conscious that stepped up, and it was also Machine as well. So it was the 3 of us that were trying to keep it together, but yeah, it just didn't work out this season. It simply didn't. Maybe even how the season went, because it wasn't the greatest matchup of all times. It's extremely imbalanced at the moment. So yeah, I guess it's more factors together that got us in the position where we decided that it's time to stop, and yeah, everybody will choose a destination for where they want to go.
Okay. Was there any attempt at looking for other groups that could have came into the kingdom, or other kingdoms outside of, I think you had mentioned 314 and any others? Or I guess I guess I'm trying to figure out, was there interest in wanting to make an effort to maybe find another kingdom that you guys could go to, or another large enough group that could come and join your kingdom? Or was everyone just kind of done at this point, and it's look, we just, we've done what we're willing to put in and do, but we just don't want to put anything more into it? I guess I'm just curious there. What because it seems like, it does seem, if I'm looking at it objectively, there could have been more done, but I'm curious on where was everyone's head on the level of effort that people wanted to put in or not.
Oh yeah, of course there were discussions. I mean, even in the last migration period, before the last season ended, we started some discussions with 2 servers, in fact. Actually with a server, and the other one was a group from inside the server. I'm not gonna give names, as I said earlier, I don't want to do it. But yeah, there were discussions, we wanted to make it happen. One of them was actually quite close, but it didn't happen in the end. The plan of it was to get some more leads from that side. That was our main goal. We didn't manage to accomplish that, so yeah. Then we got in a position in this season where we've tried the merge with 314. That one didn't went that direction, but it wasn't because of them, it was simply because of us. Our people were not willing to follow that path. I mean,
Okay.
some would have done it, I'm pretty sure of it, but others just choose to go either to a weaker server to have a more relaxed gaming time, or to more competitive ones on the top levels. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I mean, and again, that's nice to know that there was at least some additional effort that was put in to try and make it. Now, what was the consensus? I guess I'm curious. You know, you said you guys had that management meeting there with your officer team, the leads. Did it feel, I guess, coming out of that meeting that whether it's the majority of the management team kind of was on one side or another, like were people disappointed that like it had come to this, or was it maybe a little bit more of an understanding on like, look, you know, leadership has communicated, they've been transparent. You know, if no one's stepping up and nobody wants to step up, you know, there's only so much that we can do. I guess I'm curious, like, did people come out of it, you know, at least feeling a sense of like, okay, I get it, or was it more, or was it more disappointment? Like, I guess how did the management team? Because again, like you said, with so many people having about 30 R4s, what was the feeling amongst the team? You know, when that decision was made.
We wanted to save the alliance. We wanted to save it and we wanted to keep going. I mean, everybody was on the same page on this side. That's why we tried, even though they knew that I won't be able to fill the R5 position for this season. So we tried, really tried to save it. We did all that we could to save it, but it wasn't meant to be. I mean, it is what it is. Even the matchmaking this season, maybe if it was have been something more balanced, would have been different. Because yeah, even the results that we've got this season were awful. Even though with 110 people we are still number one in merit ranking, but it doesn't help in any way because we're still on the losing side. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, and I might want to circle back to one or two things you said there, but now, okay, so decisions made, management team, regardless if everyone or almost everyone's on board, everyone understands. Now the announcement comes out. What were some of the reactions from the members within the alliance when they first heard? And I'm curious, was there any indication given to the members prior to the announcement being made that, hey, this is a possibility, this may happen? Or no, this was like the first time that they were basically hearing, hey guys, we're disbanding?
That's yeah. I mean, the way they felt. I mean, the way I felt them was that it was an expected announcement,
Okay.
and it's been mostly because we've tried and we really tried to save it. We tried from recruitment from inside the alliance. We tried multiple ways to get people on board with it and get people on to be able to continue. There wasn't the options for us to be able to do it. So I mean, everybody knew it and everybody felt it was the general vibe within the alliance. The people are still okay one with another. There's been small arguments throughout the season due to the way we've been losing, but overall, the people felt it, and it's been mostly because the leadership was a letdown, to be honest.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah.
So now we get to, okay, members are told. I guess with the state now, does it feel as though the players currently within the kingdom that everyone is just kind of biding their time? Like it doesn't obviously seem like, you know, there's any, you know, wars being done or like civil wars or people just going rogue or anything like that. Like it from what I've kind of seen from the couple times that I've tuned in, it seems like everything is just kind of, you know, almost going along as normal with people kind of biding their time until they leave and migrate out. Is that kind of I guess a similar sense that you feel as well being there in the kingdom?
And there's nothing crazy in here. There's nothing going wrong in here. It's just normal. We're just farming. We're just looking forward to what's happening. Even tomorrow in the war, we'll be fighting because tomorrow is the gate 4 opening.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, everything is going just normal, but we are losing players, and we lost quite a few already because they went to G1 servers, I believe, to catch the new seasons. So they will start the new season on the server where they migrated to, and we lost probably about 30 players, which leaves us below 100 at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And do obviously one of the things I know that can happen and often does happen, in these kinds of situations is, sometimes, players can feel lost. Sometimes they can wonder, what's my next move? What's my next step? Right? Where can I go? And obviously, with me covering the kingdom, I don't, again, hopefully maybe that, allowed some recruiters or maybe more recruiters to potentially reach out. So maybe some people can find some potential homes, at least again, in this kind of a particular situation. But do you, I guess, with where everyone's go, I guess with where everyone is or is not going, is it, I guess, with what you know right now, is it more groups within the alliance, within the kingdoms that are kind of being established and heading out to their places, or do you feel like it's not really too many groups? It's kind of more of a free for all. It's just a lot of individual players. They're going to end up having to kind of figure out, where they want to go. Is there any sense of that you might already be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I know even the reasons why the merger with 314 didn't happen was because obviously if we merge two servers of our sizes, it's impossible to take on all the members, and if you're not able to bring along all of our best players, then we're not gonna be able to create something better.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was that the merger with 314 failed. It's mostly because they didn't want to break out their groups. So some of the strongest ones prefer to stay with some of the ones that wouldn't have made a cut. And they are going to smaller servers, or yeah, but it's mostly groups.
Okay. And there wasn't any consideration. So just to be clear, you don't feel that 339 had like a decent amount of dead weight to a point where you would have considered maybe doing a rebuild or just investing your time into the kingdom to discharge players and get them out. Just to be
No, we
clear,
had
like
none.
so you feel like that really wasn't an issue. It wasn't like you guys had a lot of dead weight.
We had none.
Okay. Okay.
Like, wait 1 second. If you want, I can share my screen with you, and I'm gonna show you a little bit about us. You're gonna understand how our data team was working as well. Tell me when you're able to see it.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to pop up. If it does pop up.
If not, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Wait, I'll just restart it.
Oh, maybe.
Should work now.
Well, okay. Well, while that's loading, um, is there anything? I guess obviously this is an end of a chapter because you've been in 339 since the beginning, right? With I don't know if you guys went in there with a group or whatnot, but you're OG 339 for when the kingdom was released.
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
actually from 327. All of
Okay.
us were from 327, 326, 325, and 328 when we started this alliance. We moved
Okay.
we moved to 339 when we got screwed by the migration system, and because we had so many people in the server, we couldn't recruit anyone else. And yeah, we had to move in order to get space. It was something tricky over there. We were in the pre-strife season back then. It was our second or third season. I don't even remember exactly.
Okay.
And we moved just to be able to recruit more people. And we took on our best. Back then, we could take 300. Actually, no, it was 150 players that we could have taken to the new server. We wanted to go in a competitive way from the very beginning. So yeah, that was the best choice for us.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, in that case, I mean, you've been there near the beginning of the kingdom, even if it was a little ways into its history and its age. I mean, at that point, obviously, there's a lot of history there for you. I guess I'm curious, how does it feel for you personally, just knowing how long you've been there, how much time and effort you've put in to make it work? You know, is there, again, is there a sense of, unfulfillment? Do you feel like the kingdom performed better than maybe you expected? I guess I'm just curious on, your thoughts kind of in review of everything 339 was able to do up to this point.
To be honest, I believe myself and probably everybody that was here from the beginning is very satisfied of how things have went. We are happy with how the things have happened, and the only 2 seasons that we were unhappy about were the last 2 seasons. But the last 2 seasons, including this one and the one before that, it was mainly because we started losing from our core that was, yeah, the builders, the war leads. That was the most painful part. The moment we started losing them, it was the moment everything started to drop down in quality, because the quality was what we were lacking.
Well, okay.
So yeah, I mean, the planning was not the same. The pings on Discord were not the same. It there were multiple stuffs that were missing. So yeah, that was the point where things started going down. But up to that point, everything was just great. I mean, we are super satisfied with it. I can't complain about anything in here. I feel bad that it's over. I didn't want to let it go, but given the fact that there was no other options, so better let it go than keeping people around, because I'm sure I would have had people staying with me if I wanted to keep it going, but we would have not achieved anything, to be honest,
Okay.
by keeping it going.
Okay, fair enough. I was you could turn off your screen share though if you want. I don't think anything's coming up for me on
Oh no?
on my end.
Alright.
Yeah, no, it's just a big gray screen. Um, well, okay, all right. I mean, again, I think that more or less pretty much kind of summarizes everything that I know. At least I was interested in wanting to have a conversation about. I guess maybe in conclusion, before we wrap things up, is it something you're looking? I guess are there any takeaways that you have? Are there any like good maybe lessons learned or things that you feel like you gained during your time leading in 339? Because keep in mind, not everyone really has the opportunity to not only be in leadership, but at the same time to be in what I would argue is a long-term successful kingdom that lasted a really long time. Are there any like good takeaways that you feel like you learned or you figured out along the way that you think really helped you?
I believe every experience is something that you can learn from. It's the people, the way they speak, the way they approach you. I mean, there's a lot to learn. Even as a member, even as a person in the leadership, there's a lot to learn from this game. And not just this game, it's things that helps you in real life as well. So yeah, I believe there's been great experiences and there's been a lot to learn from it as well. I used to be a leader in the past in the game where I came from as well, but yeah, it's a completely different structure, and I believe it made me better on the way I was doing stuff as well.
Yeah, being in similar positions in other games, whether it's in the same genre or a closely related one, can definitely be, a good asset going into something like this. So, well, Luck, man, listen, I really appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me about the UHA situation. I will say, at least from my end, man, I hope everyone there that plans to leave can find a good home. And obviously for those people that if anyone obviously opts to stay, hopefully they'll be able to who knows, maybe carry some form of a torch going forward. But I guess if anything, right, for those of you out there, if you're looking for people to recruit and trying to find some good homes for some good players, there's an opportunity. there to reach out and, you know, see if there's anyone that might still be looking. But I'll throw it back to you one last time, Luck. Any again, any shout outs, declarations, shots you would like to fire off at anyone, please feel free. Or just a closing statement.
Yeah, to be honest, the members that we have were just great, and they're good fighters, and I hope they will find a home. Feel free to contact them if you want, because I'm telling you they're good. Apart of that, that was it for UHA. Peace from K339, and yeah, thank you very much as well for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Touche. Well said. All right, well, that's going to be it for us. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. I appreciate Luck coming on and giving us some time today. And like I said, man, hopefully wishing the best for 339 UHA and the players there, that they're able to find a hopefully good new place to call casa, if you will. And that's it from us. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.